I am M. Michelle Derosier. That's pronounced Derosier. It's Haitian. I am a Haitian-American author who writes at the intersection of being Caribbean American and also being American. Just that the distinctions and also the similarities, and just trying to toe the line between growing up in a culture where it's traditionally a lot more sheltered, and also growing up in America. So as Haitian Americans, but also as Americans, and just walking both that line.
Right. And in America, there's no shelter. Like everything is
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. You're exposed to everything where you're,
Right.
a Haitian family, you're like, oh, you should get married, but there's no dating. How does that work? How?
Oh, is there courting or it's just like, is it an arrangement?
there's it's not arranged.
Oh,
There's courting, but there's just this kind of like, you go to school, you get your degrees, and then you're married, but you're not open to the idea of dating like in the way that America is. So it's just
mhm.
a little strange.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So do you want to tell us the title of your book? Is it one book or is it several?
Um, sure. So I am both a freelance writer for magazines. I One of my proudest pieces was towards the end of the Obama administration. I wanted to take a look at the presidency from Michelle Obama's perspective, just in terms of what her face as a Black woman, as the First Lady, meant to Black women across the country. So I had a chance to interview multiple Black women about that experience. So what did that mean to them? And then I ended up publishing the Thank You, Mrs. Obama piece that somehow she got a hold of, and
That's
ended up
so
sending me a
cool.
very lovely thank you, handwritten thank you letter. So it was really good to see that. So I do freelance writing, just online and in print. And then I am also a children's book author, so I'm a cross genre
Mhm.
writer. My children's book is out. It's a story on Ruby Bridges, and it's used for third and fourth graders in school to help teach them about Ruby Bridges and civil rights in America. And I'm currently working on my Happy Hopper series, and it's about a quirky, happy, lovable 5-year-old Haitian girl who's growing up in Brooklyn. And the first story is Grandpa Comes Home, and it's her journey waiting for her grandfather to emigrate from Haiti to the
Mm.
US. And when he finally does, it's a day in the life of him finally coming home. So it's something that I'm really excited about, and
Uh-huh.
actually something crowdfunding to get printed on Grandparents' Day in September 2020.
Okay, so upcoming this September, you're going to
Uh,
start crowdfunding.
I am crowdfunding now, so
Oh, okay.
it's happyhopper.com. If you just go on the website, all the information will be available.
Oh, cool. Okay. Be sure
Yeah,
to share that. I had no
no
idea.
problem. Yeah, it's we were just starting. Oh, I'm not sure. Sorry, it's let me not lie about my own URL. It's happyhopperbooks.com. I was like, girl, Happy Hopper wasn't available when I went to get it. So it's happyhopperbooks.com.
I know how that is because mine is Read with Mocha Books, and everyone thinks that that's the actual name, but the actual name is Mocha Books,
Mocha Books, but that
right?
wasn't
But
available.
yes, I was
I
like, that
know, who
worked
knew?
out. Yes. I'm interested about the piece on Michelle Obama. Is there a link on your website as well that'll show that?
It's not on the Happy Hopper website, but I can definitely share a link I'm Derosier on Twitter. So if anybody hits me up, I can absolutely share that link.
Oh, cool. Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Question I have, who or what event has inspired you to write?
Okay. So I am fortunate to have been like cared for and nurtured by a bunch of amazing teachers. Like I've never had an experience for the most part where I didn't have a teacher who took a vested interest in me. And one of those teachers was my fifth grade teacher, Miss Romaine, who, when I was graduating, she gave me tons of books because I was always the little girl with her eyes in a book. So she gave me tons of books, and one of the books that she gave me was Anne Frank, Diary of a Young Girl, because I used to keep a diary, and she's like, you need to read this. And that story just basically changed my whole perspective on the idea, the power of a writer to change the world. Like, you know, she's been gone so many years and her story lives on forever because she's telling the history from just a very personal perspective. There's a lot of the political structure happening, but to hear it just from a little girl being like, oh, now I'm having to deal with having my period while under, you know, this quarantine,
Right.
you know, so it's just the idea that you could just have a personal approach to a political landscape just completely changed my perspective on the difference that a writer can make. So you think that the only way that you can change things is to go into politics, is to do the things where you're actually changing policies, but the words are just as powerful, even if you're not on the front line of changing policies. So
Yeah, and those words stick around, obviously, like for
exactly.
a very, very long time. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
Have you faced any challenges when it comes to writing or publishing?
Sure. So I shout out to all the writers who can just sit down and write, who can just sit here, whether it's pen to paper or your laptop, and just the words just flow. I am not that writer. So I actually write a lot. My environment is incorporated into the way that I write. So, you know, it does take me a while to just get situated and for the words to flow. And when I'm having an especially difficult time writing, I'll just go under my desk and bring my laptop, bring my pen and paper, and just be like, okay, we're just gonna write under the desk for this moment. This is how it's gonna happen. But you'll find me all around the house just shifting. Sometimes it's under the table, sometimes it's in the closet. Wherever the words are gonna come, that's where you will be. So you know, the challenge for me is that I'm not, you know, I wouldn't be like a Danielle Steele who's putting out just a series of books out every, you know, every year you have like 5-10 books coming out. I'm a slow writer, so I think that's the challenge. Yeah, she does.
My goodness.
That's
time.
Well, she's full time. I am full time working, and you know, cobbling together my writing hours from a very busy full time work. So you know, shout out to all the people who can make it. But yeah, I'm a slow writer, so it takes me a while to get the stories out.
I've heard a lot of authors are now, since we're now on lockdown and in quarantine, and they are finding that they can't write, like they're having blocks because they're having to sit, and now you're actually having to sit and write and do something, and they're like, I can't, like, I don't know what to write. A lot of people are write around their surroundings and their environments, because a lot of them are now like, I can't, I don't know what else to do. Yeah. They have all this time and now they're stuck. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite author?
I have several favorites, but one of my consistently favorite is Edwidge Cat. She is a prolific Haitian writer, absolutely amazing. Um, if you're starting with her, some people will say start with Crick Crock. I will say start with Breath Eyes Memory, which is semi-autobiographical of her uncle who is leaving Haiti to come to the United States and then getting basically stuck in the immigration process. And I won't give anything away, but it's just a story that will stay with you forever. So she is just one of those authors that as a Haitian American growing up who wanted to be a writer, she was my first kind of introduction to what it means to have a voice in the system to change the narrative of who Haitians are in this country. So, you know, we have happy stories, we have tragic stories, we have, you know, fun, ridiculous stories. Like she gives you the landscape of the human experience, not just the Haitian experience. So she, you know, she's the one who's done an amazing job of humanizing us across a country that usually doesn't see us as humans. So
that's interesting. I feel like I want to ask you the story, but I need to read it.
Read
like,
it.
Did he ever get out? I'm really interested now.
Yeah, I mean, she has her body of work is extensive, and there are many of them that stay with me. But this one, after I read it, I was just like, I'm devastated for like, don't talk to me for a year. We're just gonna have to. And her newest one now, and I'm blanking on the name. You know, an author is really good when it's a series of short stories. And I read one of the short stories, and I was just like, I'm putting this down because I'm sitting here like arguing with the characters, like, no, that's not happening. So it's taken me forever to read her newest book, only because I keep arguing with the characters and having to put the book down. So
we've definitely all been there. I've done that a lot. I read so many children's books that when I do read a novel and a chapter book and biography or something like that, I'm just stuck. I'm just this is not my normal. I'm usually reading like 25 pages and I can, you know, quickly get through it. And those chapter books and those novels and those biographies. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so your Ruby Bridges story, when did that come out?
That came out, what are we, 2020? 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Let's see. How has that journey been with publishing that book?
It's been really good. So, I mean, I don't know who the audience for this will be, you know, if it's folks who are just starting out or, you know, more senior writers. But I think from my perspective, I've been both traditionally published now and now trying to self-publish. I think one thing that I've been hearing from other people, and I am seeing it for myself, is that the marketing piece is on you. Like whether or not you are traditionally published or not, like that support system. So the Ruby Bridges book was work for hire with a children's publisher. And you know, they were great in working with me, but there was no like, you know, who will help you market. You had to do it kind of yourself. And from what I'm hearing, you know, even with the bigger publishers, traditional publishers, you know, you have that initial support, but really there's a lot of the marketing that's on your plate as the writer. And, you know, writers generally are not known for their marketing abilities and putting themselves out there. So, you know, it's a slow learning process and something that I have been trying to push myself out of my comfort zone, hence this interview. So yeah, whether or not you're traditionally published or trying to self-publish, that marketing piece is something that is really helpful to kind of get your arms around. And if you're like me and it feels forced, one of the better advice that I've gotten so far was to try to think of conversations that you would want your authors to have with you and try to frame your marketing that way. So, your favorite authors, what would you like to know about them? What would you like to know about the stories? Like, it doesn't have to feel slimy. It could just feel like a conversation, which was, again, one of the better pieces of advice that I've gotten around marketing.
That's really good advice, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you more comfortable.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I think marketing with just about anything is really tough. Even with my bookstore, I was always against putting myself out there. So it took me, I started in 2017. So it took me about, I would say, 6 months to a year before I was like, okay, let me put one picture of myself up. So people like, they like to be able to relate. And I got messages from my family and my friends all the time, and they're like, all right, what are we doing this month? All right, what are we doing this week? Are you gonna do this? Like, I'm like, nah, I don't really want to do that. I don't want my face to be out there. And they're like, well, how is anyone gonna know what you're doing? Because you have to share your information. I'm like,
but I shared what I'm doing with you. Why do you need to say?
Like, do I have to?
Yeah.
It's really interesting the way it's taking a turn. Like, one day I was like, oh yay, I have like 100 followers, and the next day I was like, wow, why are there 11,000 people following me?
Okay.
Is that interesting? Yeah, it's a little scary. I'm like, okay, so now what do I say? Because now there's more people. So yes.
What do I have to do to keep you all entertained?
Right. Right. Okay, let's see. What do you like to do when you're not writing?
Well, when we weren't stuck inside, I love traveling. I love hiking. So anything that requires me to be outdoors is fantastic.
So
Maine is one of my
tough right now for you.
Thankfully, we have some big windows so I can put my nose and be like, ooh, outside. What's happening? But yeah, whenever I can get the chance to be outdoors, I take it.
Are you in an area that's on like a semi-lockdown? Are you guys completely locked down?
Oh, we're in New York City. We're on lockdown until right now, May 15th.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I heard that was
they
like
keep
the heaviest.
Extending it. Yeah, we've been kind of hit. I think the tri-states, so New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut, probably has the most cases combined, with New York leading it. So, yeah.
That's tough.
It hasn't been fun, but, you stay indoors, if not for you, because I guess technically I'm not in the, vulnerable category, but, you're staying inside, not for you, but to make sure that no one else gets sick. So.
Right. My kids are having the hardest time with it. Well, my daughter is. She's 10 and she's like a huge extrovert. She's very adventurous. And she's like, okay, well, can I just go to Nana's house? And I'm like, no, you can't go to Nana's house.
Especially not Nana's house.
Right. I'm like, you can't go anywhere. You have to stay in. She's like, okay, well, can we take a walk around the neighborhood? And we'll take a walk. And she's like, okay, we'll see. We went outside. Well, can I go here? No. We have to stay inside. It's so stressful for her.
Oh, yeah. The extroverts are having a really hard time.
Yeah, she's just, it doesn't matter what I say. It's not registering for her. She's,
I mean, she's 10. This is probably the most intense thing that she's ever experienced in her life. Like, this is on a global scale. So, I can't imagine parents right now just trying to explain all of this to their kids.
Yeah, because she thinks it's me. I'm like, I didn't grab you. I didn't put you on lockdown. It's not me. I would love for you to be able to go to his house.
You're like, not me, boo, not me.
I love this picture behind you. I keep staring at it.
Okay.
The girl.
So this is my wall. I don't know if you can see it. This is a little like workspace, writing area space. I'm not sure.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah. So this is I think this is the ballerina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah.
Gorgeous.
From a couple of different, I think almost everything on here is from an Etsy independent artist. So
cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Let me see. I'm trying to think what. Oh, what do you hope that readers will take away from your body of work, whether it's children's books or anything else?
So I'm very purposeful in centering Haitian-American voices. I'm very purposeful in centering, I also write romance, in centering dark-skinned women as heroines in their own romance. So I think that will be there without necessarily you needing to take away from there. But I want to tell joyful stories for a people that aren't necessarily seen as joyful. So whether you're, the Haitian American or the Haitian or the darker skinned women who don't get to, we frolic. Send us to Maine and just, go in the fall and just play in the leaves. Like we have joy and we have purpose and we laugh. Like I know that there are stories that we have challenges, we have pains, and you can tell all of those stories. But for my purpose, most of my stories are choosing to center on the joy. So
I love that. I agree with you. There are a lot of books specifically around of color that are just, everything is tragic and sad and anger. And if you continue to read those books, it's going to seep in, and that's going to be your normal. So that's not, I love that.
And there's a body of it. There should be a good representation of all of the emotions, right? And, depending on the book, you get to see all of those emotions played out in one book. And when that needs to happen, it will happen in a book. But you will never, in my body of fiction work, you will never find me allowing a Black woman or a Haitian character to not have some sort of joy.
I love it. Yes, that's what we need.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience?
Sure. I will just make a quick pitch. Again, happyharperbooks.com. I'm raising money for Grandpa Comes Home, which is the first book in my Happy Harper series. So it is the story of Happy Harper, quirky, adorable little 5-year-old growing up in Brooklyn. And the Grandpa Comes Home story is her being reunited with her grandfather, who's moving from Haiti to come live with the family in Brooklyn. So help support, get us through. We're raising, I think, $12,000. So we're at 2,500 now. So anything that you can give would be amazing. And we'd love to get this story published in time for Grandparents' Day in September.
Cool. Are there any events that you have had or are planning to have that a lot of events have gotten affected by us being quarantined? So it's kind of interesting to hear about.
I don't have any upcoming event. My last event was just this past year. When you're trying to balance full-time work and also doing this part-time, there's not a lot of flexibility in terms of taking on multiple events. So I did absolutely loved it. For Clifton Public Library, which is one of the largest libraries in New Jersey, I did a reading of Ruby Bridges, and we had families in attendance, kids in attendance. We even had grandparents in there, and it was just an amazing experience. So it was pretty hands-on, and one of the things that we did was to get the kids to talk about who the superheroes are in their real lives. So, the idea of a superhero is, but let's kind of think about, mom who makes your bed every day, your dad who makes your favorite pancakes. So getting the kids to take the idea of what a superhero is and reframing it and thinking about the people that they see every day in their lives and also themselves, how they can be superheroes. And one of the little girls who was just not happy to be there when she first came in, she was just like, I'm only here because my mom is making me. When she came up to talk about her mother as her superhero and the fact that her mom had left the Ukraine and came to the US with really nothing to their names, but knowing that her mom was really working hard. I think she was a cleaning person and doing all of that work because she knew that she had to take care of her and her sister, and every day she would make that breakfast. She would make that lunch, like her crying and just being like, I never recognized that my mom was a superhero. And I was just like, yes, she is. Oh God, she is. So it was just really amazing to see, just to get them thinking about that idea. So when I do author's visit, it's really interactive to get the kids actually doing stuff with the families and not just the reading. So.
I'm excited. I definitely appreciate you for supporting the bookmobile. I got so excited about it. I made a post about this yesterday that I was so excited to finally be going forward with this and all of the support that I was getting, and then we got hit by this. So I'm like, was that a sign? Like, what am I supposed to do now? I don't understand. I didn't want to do any work concerning the bookstore for like a week, and I was just like, I was so devastated. I'm like, what do I do now?
Yeah. How are you pivoting? So where's your mindset now?
I try to do work towards something on the bookstore at least every day, so that I don't get stuck in a rut to where I'm just like, oh, well, I like not doing anything. So I keep up with everything. I look at like bands and sprinters and things for the bus, like every day to keep me motivated and stuff like that. And then I had thought about going to get a van, and my brother was like, oh, well, you can just, park it, at least get it, and you can park it over here, and then we'll worry about all the other stuff later.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, with the way our nation is going right now, I don't want to make any like drastic changes because there's just no telling. So I'm just gonna hold off on everything. I'm still shipping books, but as far as the bookmobile side of it, I'm just gonna hold off for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult. But I think the reason, I'll speak for myself, that I supported your crowdfunding was because that I knew, I was like, oh, actually getting books to kids in the places where they are, you're probably going to be going into the neighborhoods that are very, it's a book desert, so they probably don't have, whether it's close libraries by or bookstores that are close by. So the fact that you will actually be going into the places where it's most needed, I was like, yeah, of course I'll support that. So
thank you.
I just want you to know to keep going. I know it's a little discouraging that you have to delay plans now, but this is going to happen, and it's maybe by the time we're done here, it's going to happen on a grander scale than even you thought was going to happen. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
no problem.
All right. Well, I
Right.
thank you for joining.
You're welcome. I'm so sorry about all the tech glitches before.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I got on maybe 10 minutes earlier, and I was trying to check all the settings, and I'm like, all right, is this good? Because I've joined meetings, but I haven't started a meeting yet. So I was like, okay, I don't want to mess anything up. So yeah, I'm glad we got this done. I am going to try to get this up today on the YouTube, and
okay, well,
yes, I have plenty of time. So.
Hey, audience, please be very forgiving, because you see this hot hair mess that we're working with. You know the salons and clothes. Black people do not clown me and be like, why this girl didn't comb her hair? Stop it, Black people. Stop it.
The struggle is real right now. Everybody is struggling.
Okay. So be nice. Be nice.
Yes.
Be nice.
I love it. I love it.
Y'all ain't gonna have me looking a fool on this internet, on Beyonce's internet. No, not gonna happen.
I love it. I love it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, I think the only way that they were getting actually like dressed up or done up is when they were doing that Don't Rush challenge. Other than that, I'm sure we all look the same.
Yeah, no, I was like, oh my God, she's doing this now during the quarantine. I was sitting there like, oh Lord, I'm having a moment. I was like, I should answer her and set this thing up, but my hair, Jesus, my hair.
I really wanted, since everyone is basically stuck in the house and they have plenty of time, like lives going all over Instagram, it's very overwhelming. I try to log out because it's just every time I look, the live is popping up. Yes, I'm like, this is probably the perfect time to do this because everybody has time to check it out. So
that's very true. Awesome.
Thank you for replying.
Oh, no problem. I had to have a conversation with myself and be like, girl, stop it.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Your day.
No problem. You too.
Talk to you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.